Mothers. They bring you into the world and ensure you live long enough to learn how to avoid the terminal cessation of brain activity. Let's talk about mine. It's no secret that I love swimming, and I love the ocean. In part, this is thanks to my dad helping me get over my fear of water, and my mother supporting me by putting me into weekend swimming courses that I absolutely adored. I did it for years and even went on to the practice swim team or whatever it was called at one point. Basically, I have always been a really strong swimmer. Less so now given my physical shape, but I can still swim pretty well. This, historically caused problems because I am so comfortable in water that, well, I've historically been described as too comfortable and reckless by instructors. This is a bad thing considering one thing I elected to do when I was able was scuba diving, and during my efforts to get certified, I was so aloof and in my own world while under the water that the instructors nearly failed me. Why bring this up? Well, because this story happened before scuba and is probably the single most dangerous and reckless but also fucking hilarious thing I ever did in the water as a kid. And my mother and I adore this story, to be clear. So we were at Lake Tahoe. We had a 2-person paddle boat, but it could be done by just one if needed. Remember that. So after a while, we were pretty far out to shore. This is where I will add a really important fact. Lake Tahoe gets fucking cold for the average human being, especially when they do not have a wetsuit or any form of aquatic insulation, essentially. For reference, right, this lake's highest average temperature in the summer is still colder than your average swimming pool. In short bursts or on the shore, this isn't terrible, it's not dangerous, but again, unless you have a wetsuit, being out in the water for a while, namely in the colder months where it can get as low as 40 degrees, can be risky. It's not as risky as, say, running and jumping into a recently thawed-out lake that could send you into shock, but it isn't something you want your kid doing. Well, here we are, in the lake, during not the coldest time, but not the warmest either, quite far out from the shore. Younger me noticed that the armrests on our seats were adjustable, so I did just that. I started adjusting my seat, and when I lifted the armrest, a big-ass wolf spider popped out because I disturbed her and her babies. I screamed in terror and jumped up. It quickly became apparent to my mother as to why I was screaming when the wolf spider proceeded to walk onto my seat. Being absolutely terrified, I climbed over my mother and basically stood on the edge of the paddle boat watching this spider while my poor mom was paddling us back to shore and splashing water on the damn thing. Yes, fellow spider enjoyers, spiders can be sweethearts, but I was a kid and my mother also dislikes spiders. Seeing that the Kiral, water, was not a Kiral as the fucking thing was still moving, I told my mom that I wanted to swim back to shore. She very understandably told me, no. And this wasn't any kind of, no, sweetie, tone. No. This is the, you are grounded and in big, serious trouble with severe consequences if you do something this foolish tone. Understand that my mother was very much in the right here, okay? She was in the right. But I looked at that spider, and I looked at my mother, and then at the spider again, and in that moment, I had to choose death by wolf spider or my mother's wrath. And so I looked her right in the eye, and I said, Mom, I love you. And I ditched her. I jumped into the water. I jumped into the fucking water without a second's thought, where I proceeded to swim back to shore in a rush of adrenaline and fear while my poor mom had to paddle. It took me, just from my memory, but maybe she recalls differently, like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes to make it back. I mean, it felt that long. I'll also add that she didn't just sit there and do nothing. She did keep an eye on me while paddling and dealing with the spider. Like, she was watching over me in case something went wrong, but needless to say, that was really dumb of me. And here's the funny part, right? I don't know how, but I somehow avoided consequences for that. Granted, I kind of realized how dumb that was after I did it, so the lesson was learned, and she did, parent me, but I wasn't grounded or anything like that. I've never asked why, but if I had to guess, either she was just relieved I was okay, or she was so impressed by what I did that she just felt like there wasn't a need? I don't know. And again, for an experienced adult swimmer with a wetsuit, making that swim isn't insane. I think many reasonably fit adults can do it. It's just that I was a kid without a wetsuit or fins or swimwear that wouldn't provide drag in the water. If my mother wasn't there and something went wrong, frankly, it would have ended very, very badly. Thankfully, my mother was there, and obviously nothing did go wrong. I look back on this story especially with a lot of gratitude because as a kid, you don't really see things from your parents' perspective, even when you know you did something wrong. At the time, I just didn't understand my mother's concern. I was just so confident in my ability that I never stopped to consider the danger that I was putting myself in. Looking back as an adult, I can see where my mom was coming from and see the steps that she took to protect me, even in a difficult situation that saw me not cooperating in the slightest. So this is my message to all of you. Appreciate family and friends. Perhaps they have flaws, but they are human just like you or me. And oftentimes, we take them and their actions and efforts to protect and nurture us for granted. In many cases, people just don't get people like my mother, which is tragic, and makes me all the more grateful that I have someone as amazing and smart and frankly fucking tenacious as her. Moms really are superheroes. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you.